October 14, 1943. 11:42 a.m. 22,000 feet over Schweinfurt, Germany. Second Lieutenant Fred Scharrer grips the yoke of his B-17, feeling the four engines thrumming through the control column. He's 23 years old. 8 months ago, he was washing out of primary training at Chapman Field in Florida, too nervous to land properly. His instructor refused to give up on him. Now he's leading a four-engine bomber into the most heavily defended target in Germany. Through his windscreen, Scharrer watches the horizon ahead. Dark smudges appear, dozens of them, blooming like black flowers against the clear autumn sky. Flak. Jesus, his co-pilot mutters. Look at it. The entire sky ahead is filling with bursts. Not scattered fire, not random shells. This is a wall of coordinated anti-aircraft fire. Batteries firing in patterns designed to bracket entire formations. Scharrer's B-17 is one of 291 flying fortresses attacking Schweinfurt's ball-bearing factories. The American planners believe destroying these factories will cripple German war production. Maybe they're right. But first, Scharrer has to fly through that wall of steel. The first burst appears 1,000 feet ahead, then closer. Then the formation is inside it. His bomber rocks from a near miss. The concussion hits like a physical blow. Shrapnel rattles through the fuselage, that distinctive sound, like someone throwing handfuls of gravel at a barn door. To his left, 300 yards away, a fortress takes a direct hit. Scharrer sees it happen in crystalline detail. The shell strikes just behind the cockpit. The entire forward section, nose, flight deck, bombardier's position, disintegrates. Just gone. One moment it's a bomber. The next it's a falling, spinning mass of metal and flame. 10 men aboard. He counts 3 parachutes, maybe 4. His intercom crackles. Steady on the bomb run. Scharrer forces his hands to relax on the yoke. This is his 8th mission. He needs 25 to complete his tour and go home. If he survives. The statistics are simple. At current loss rates, he has about a 1 in 4 chance of making it to mission 25. 3/4 of bomber crews become casualties, killed, wounded, or prisoners. What Scharrer doesn't know, what he can't know, is that in 18 months, half his crew will be dead. The survivors will be replaced. Then those replacements will be replaced. But the bombers will keep coming. More tomorrow than today. More next month than next week. Because for every bomber the Germans shoot down, America is training replacements faster than they can count. To understand how America won the air war, you need to understand 2 numbers, 5,000 and 210,000. January 1943. 8th Air Force Headquarters, High Wycombe, England. The staff officers gather around the situation map. Red pins mark today's losses. There are a lot of red pins. The numbers tell a brutal story. Current bomber loss rate, 4 to 6% per mission. Doesn't sound catastrophic. 6 bombers out of every 100 don't come home. 94 make it back. But run the numbers forward. Each bomber crew is required to fly 25 missions before completing their tour. Some crews, depending on when they arrive and policy changes, will be required to fly 30 missions, or 35. The mathematics are merciless. If you lose 4% per mission over 25 missions, only 36% of crews complete their tours. Almost 2/3 become casualties. If the loss rate hits 6%, only 21% make it home. 4 out of 5 crews will be killed, wounded, or captured. And each bomber carries 10 men: pilot, co-pilot, navigator, bombardier, radio operator, flight engineer, 4 gunners, 10 highly trained aircrew per aircraft. 6 bombers lost per mission equals 60 trained men gone. The 8th Air Force flies multiple missions per week, sometimes daily, when weather permits. Each mission, 60 casualties, 80 casualties, 100. The specific numbers sear into command memory. August 17th, 1943. The Schweinfurt-Regensburg mission, the first one, before Scherer's October mission. 361 bombers dispatched, 60 destroyed, 600 men lost in a single day. October 14th. The second Schweinfurt raid. 291 bombers attack. 77 fail to return. 770 men gone. The Hamburg raids. The Berlin campaign. Mission after mission after mission. Bleeding crews faster than factories can build replacement bombers. Between November 1943 and March 1944, the Battle of Berlin alone costs Bomber Command 492 aircraft. That's 4,920 men killed, wounded, or captured in 4 months of sustained operations. But the losses aren't just the aircraft shot down. For every bomber destroyed, 3 more return damaged. Holes in wings, shredded control surfaces, hydraulic systems riddled with shrapnel, wounded crew members bleeding in the fuselage. Those damaged bombers need repair. Those wounded men need replacement. The crews that survive develop what the flight surgeons call flak happy, profound anxiety, hypervigilance, inability to sleep. Some simply break, cannot fly another mission, must be replaced. And the crews who actually complete their tours? They rotate home, also need replacement. The replacement math is staggering. Each bomb group operates roughly 48 bombers. Each bomber needs 10 crew. One bomb group requires 480 trained aircrew at full strength. The 8th Air Force has 40 bomb groups by mid-1943. That's 19,200 men required just to maintain current strength. At 6% losses per mission, flying 5 missions per week, a single bomb group loses approximately 15 crews per month. 150 men gone. Multiply that across 40 groups. 6,000 men per month need replacement. And that's just the 8th Air Force. Add the 15th Air Force operating from Italy. Add RAF Bomber Command flying night missions. Add the losses in the Pacific, North Africa, Mediterranean. The total aircrew requirement is crushing. Meanwhile, across the English Channel, German flak crews are confident. Summer 1943. A heavy flak battery outside Hamburg. Feldwebel Otto Richter stands beside his 88mm gun, watching the white rings painted on the barrel. 3 confirmed kills. His crew has been training together for 18 months. Professional Luftwaffe soldiers. They know their weapon. They trust their doctrine. The system works. Early warning radar picks up incoming raids while they're still over the North Sea. Sector by sector, defenses activate. Searchlights illuminate targets. Würzburg radars track individual bombers through clouds at night in weather that would have made accurate fire impossible a year earlier. The fire director, that mechanical marvel of gears and cams, computes where the target will be when the shell arrives. Data flows electrically to the guns. The guns slew and elevate automatically. When it all works together, it's devastating. Richter's battery fires coordinated patterns, not random shells thrown into the sky. Precise barrages designed to bracket bomber formations, force them to fly through kill zones where multiple shells explode simultaneously. The results speak for themselves. In the first 3 months of 1943, German flak destroys 90 British bombers during night raids. Fighters account for 96, nearly even. But the damage statistics are even more striking. Flak damages 724 bombers in those 3 months. Fighters damage only 81, 9 to 1. For every bomber a fighter manages to hit without destroying, flak guns are hammering 9 more. Each bomber costs the Americans $250,000. More important, each bomber carries 10 trained men. Takes 9 to 12 months to train a bomber crew from civilian to combat ready. The Germans are destroying them faster than the Americans can replace them, or so they think. Richter watches bombers fall from the formations overhead. Black smoke, spinning aircraft, parachutes blossoming, sometimes. Often the bombers just tumble earthward, too damaged for the crew to escape. They can't sustain these losses, he tells his crew. Look how many we're killing. Eventually, they'll stop coming. What Richter doesn't know, what German intelligence completely fails to grasp, is the scale of American training capacity. While Richter is counting bombers falling from the sky, America is training replacements by the tens of thousands. February 1943. Pentagon Briefing Room, Washington, D.C. General Henry Hap Arnold, commander of the Army Air Forces, reviews the numbers with his staff. The situation is critical, but not for the reasons the Germans think. Aircraft production is manageable. Boeing, Douglas, and Lockheed are ramping up B-17 production. By March 1944, factories will be producing 16 Fortresses per day. Peak production, 12,731 B-17s total. Add 18,482 B-24 Liberators. Over 31,000 heavy bombers during the war. Lose 500 bombers per month, build 700. The factories can sustain that tempo. The real bottleneck is crews. You can build a bomber in a month. Training a 10-man crew takes 9 to 12 months. And unlike bombers, you can't just increase factory shifts to produce more pilots. Arnold's staff runs the numbers. Current aircrew training capacity, insufficient for projected losses. Required expansion, dramatic. The decision comes swiftly. Expand the training pipeline to unprecedented scale. Use every available resource. Military schools, civilian contract schools, British Empire training facilities in Canada, Rhodesia, South Africa. Priority, volume without sacrificing quality. The target number seems impossible. Train 210,000 aircrew during the war. But Arnold knows something the Germans don't. Something fundamental about American industrial capacity. If American factories can produce 16 bombers per day, American schools can produce thousands of pilots per month. The question isn't whether America can train 210,000 aircrew. The question is, how fast can you build the schools? The answer comes from Florida. December 1940. Miami, Florida. John Paul Riddle stands on the dock at his seaplane base, watching a student struggle with a water takeoff. The Piper Cub bounces across the waves, not quite finding the rhythm. Riddle is 35 years old. He runs a small civilian flight school, the Embry-Riddle Company, teaching wealthy tourists to fly, training hobbyists who want their pilot's license. Modest operation, 15 instructors, 25 aircraft, a few hundred students per year. Not glamorous work, but steady. Then the world changes. First comes the civilian pilot training program. The government wants to build a reserve of pilots, just in case. Embry-Riddle gets a contract. Train college students for $40 each. The program is small, but growing. Then December 7th, Pearl Harbor. The phone call comes the next day. Army Air Forces Contracting Office. The voice on the line is urgent. Mr. Riddle, how fast can you expand? Riddle looks around his small operation. 1 seaplane base, 1 grass strip, 15 instructors. How many pilots do you need? Thousands. Can you do it? Riddle doesn't hesitate. Yes. He has no idea how, but he'll figure it out. Spring 1942. Multiple locations across Florida. The expansion happens at a pace that seems impossible until it's happening. Carlstrom Field, near Arcadia, in central Florida. It's an old World War I training base, abandoned for 20 years. Runways crumbling, hangars collapsing. Riddle buys it for almost nothing. Within 90 days, the field is operational. 6 runways, freshly paved. Barracks for 500 cadets. Operations buildings, maintenance hangars, flight line. 100 instructors hired. 120 PT-17 Stearman biplanes. The iconic primary trainer, radial engine, open cockpit, built like a tank. Capacity, 500 cadets in training simultaneously. Riddle doesn't stop there. Dorr Field goes up next. Sister field to Carlstrom. Same location near Arcadia. Built from scratch in 90 days. Same capacity, same aircraft. Doubles the training throughput. Then Riddle Field, near Clewiston. This one is ambitious. Not just primary training. The entire pipeline, primary, basic, and advanced. Purpose-built for the Royal Air Force, which needs American training capacity to feed its own desperate pilot shortage. Number 5 British Flying Training School. 1,800 RAF cadets will train here during the war, plus over 100 American cadets in an experimental program. Chapman Field, near Coral Gables. This one focuses on naval aviation. The V5 program. Training Navy pilots in Piper Cubs. The operation includes something unusual for 1942. Women flight instructors. Nancy Graham, Helen Webster, and others teaching male cadets to fly. The cadets resist at first. Women instructors? But the women proved tougher, more demanding, and more effective than most male instructors. Union City Field in Tennessee. Northern expansion. Weather backup when Florida gets socked in. And the technical school in Miami. The aviation building, 4 floors. Training aircraft mechanics, engine specialists, instrument technicians, welding specialists, sheet metal workers. All the ground crew necessary to keep aircraft flying. The scale is staggering. From 15 instructors to over 600 in 18 months. From 25 aircraft to over 500. From 1 field to 6 fields across 2 states. Total investment, $15 million in 1942 currency. The equivalent of over $200 million today. At the technical school, enrollment explodes. In December 1941, the company employs 711 people. A month later, 1,100. By 1943, over 385 instructors, producing 200 Army technical trainees per week. Students arrive as shoe salesmen, insurance brokers, laundry truck drivers, accountants. They leave as certified aircraft mechanics ready to maintain B-17s in combat zones. The cafeteria that didn't exist in January 1942 is built in 10 days, 14,000 gallons of septic capacity installed, the biggest installation in Miami since the 1925 boom. By 1943, it seats 750 people. The welding department grows 15 to 20 times its original size in months. And this is just one civilian contractor. Across America, 60 similar schools are expanding simultaneously. Military training bases are growing even faster. The machine is coming online, but the machine needs operators. You can build runways and hangars in weeks. Finding qualified instructors takes longer. Summer 1942. Karlstrom Field Flight Line. Mike Ettinger walks the line of PT-17s, checking each aircraft before students arrive. He's a former barnstormer with over 4,000 flight hours. Been flying since the 1920s. Did air shows, crop dusting, whatever paid. Now, he's an instructor. $700 per month. Excellent wartime pay. His job, teach 19-year-olds who've never flown to master a biplane that wants to kill them if they make a mistake. Ettinger has his methods. He never yells, never curses. If a student makes a mistake, Ettinger catches his eye in the small mirror mounted in the front cockpit, touches his finger to his nose. Means, that stunk. Then they both laugh, and Ettinger asks if the cadet wants to try again. Patience works better than intimidation. Other instructors have different approaches. Some are screamers. One instructor at Union City gets so enraged when cadets make mistakes that he turns red, veins bulging, voice hoarse from shouting. 2 cadets wash out under him just from the stress. But most instructors are like Fred Stanger, patient, persistent, refusing to give up on students who struggle. Stanger has one cadet who vomits every single flight. Air sickness so severe, the kid can barely function. Any other instructor would wash him out immediately. Stanger makes a deal. You clean up the cockpit after landing, you can keep flying. The cadet agrees. Flies mission after mission, vomiting every time, cleaning up every time. By the time he reaches basic training, the air sickness disappears. He earns his wings, completes his combat tour. At Chapman Field, the women instructors prove their worth quickly. Nancy Graham has a cadet named Charlie Barfield. She grades him low on judgment, thinks he's too hesitant, not trusting his instincts. One day, Graham cuts the engine before they reach the field. Forced landing exercise. Barfield sets up his approach. Everything's going fine. Then he spots a thick bush directly in his flight path. He waits for Graham to increase power and go around. She does nothing, says nothing. At the last second, Barfield shoves the throttle forward, climbs over the bush, lands safely. After they land, Graham speaks. "I'm sure glad you did that. We were going to hit that bush." Barfield's judgment grade goes up. The lesson sticks with him for 30 years of Navy flying, including helicopters in Korea. Trust your instincts. Don't wait for someone else to save you. The training regimen is standardized across all schools. Primary stage, 65 hours of dual instruction and solo flight. Students must solo within 8 hours or face elimination. The washout rate hovers around 20 to 25%. Those who solo progress through stages. Stage A, basic maneuvers, turns, climbs, descents. Stage B, figure eights, steep turns. Stage C, aerobatics, spins, stalls. Stage D, formation flying, cross-country navigation. Every stage ends with a check ride. An evaluator instructor flies with the student, testing everything learned. Pass, and you continue. Fail, and you get one more chance. Fail again, and you're eliminated. Eliminated doesn't mean you're done serving. It means you're reassigned. Navigator school, bombardier school, gunnery school. Every bomber needs 6 to 7 crew members who aren't pilots. The system doesn't waste anyone. One student arrives at Embry-Riddle with an unusual background. Albert Sonny Capone, 23 years old, son of Chicago gangster Al Capone. Rejected by the Army due to a physical deficiency. Lists his father's occupation on the application form as retired. Capone enrolls in the technical school. Studies engine mechanics. Graduates. Works at the Miami Air Depot maintaining aircraft. He wants to serve despite his famous name. The school treats him like any other student. Another student is Lo Shuk Gao, 16 years old, from Canton, China. Fled Japanese occupation in 1938. Enrolls at Embry-Riddle to become an engine maintenance specialist. Plans to return to China after the war to help rebuild. The diversity is striking. Farm boys from Iowa, college graduates from Boston, mechanics from Detroit, salesmen from New York. Age range, 18 to 28. Common thread, determination to serve. And the instructors know what's at stake. Every graduate will face combat. Some won't survive their first mission. Others will complete full tours and come home. The instructors can't control that. They can only provide the best training possible. Some instructors leave for better opportunities. Airlines are hiring. Ferry Command pays more. Pan American Air Ferries offers twice the salary to experienced pilots. But many stay. One instructor, when asked why he doesn't leave for better pay, responds simply, "These boys need the best training we can give them. They're going to war. I want them to come home." By mid-1943, Embry-Riddle alone is logging over 50,000 flight hours per month. The safety record remains extraordinary. 550,000 flight hours with only one fatality. Better safety than most military training bases. The pipeline is flowing. Cadets arrive weekly, graduate monthly, shipped to basic training, then advanced, then transition to combat aircraft. And every week, the numbers grow. March 1943, following one cadet class through the system. The pipeline has 4 stages. Each one filters out those who can't make it. Each one transforms civilians into warriors. Stage 1, primary training. Embry-Riddle Karlstrom Field. 10 weeks. PT-17, Steerman biplane. The cadets arrive in buses. Average age, 21. Most have never flown. A few have hobbyist experience. 1 or 2 washed out of college, or couldn't pass the physical for infantry. Day 1, ground school. Aircraft systems, engine operations, aerodynamics, weather, navigation. 8 hours of classroom instruction. Day 2, first flight. The instructor straps the cadet into the front cockpit. The steerman is loud. 220 horsepower radial engine, roaring 18 inches from your head. Wind blast from the propeller, smell of exhaust and aviation fuel. The instructor demonstrates a takeoff. Power up, tail comes up, lift off. Climb to 3,000 feet. Level flight. Gentle turns. Climbs. Descents. Back to the field. Landing. The cadet thinks, "I can do this." Then the instructor says, "You have the aircraft." Suddenly, everything is different. The controls feel heavy. The aircraft wants to do things you're not telling it to do. You're either over-controlling, jerky, aggressive movements, or under-controlling, letting the aircraft wander. The instructor's voice crackles through the Gosport tube. Relax. Small movements. Feel the aircraft. By hour 8, the cadet must solo or wash out. The instructor lands, climbs out, stands on the wing. Take it around once. Don't kill yourself. The cadet is alone. The aircraft feels lighter without the instructor's weight. More responsive, almost eager. Takeoff, circuit, landing. Sometimes it's perfect. Sometimes it's terrible, but survivable. Either way, the cadet has soloed. 25% don't make it this far. Too nervous. Can't master coordination. Can't overcome air sickness. They're reassigned. Those who solo continue. Hours 9 through 65. Building skills. aerobatics, loops, rolls, spins. Formation flying, holding position 6 feet from another aircraft's wingtip. Night flying, landing with nothing but a line of kerosene flares marking the runway. Cross-country navigation, using map and compass to find your way across unfamiliar territory. Fred Scherer's journey begins here. His instructor, Tyne Davis, notes in the rating book, "Looks to me as though someone has tried to scare this boy in an airplane and was successful." Scherer is tense, nervous. His coordination is mechanical, judgment uncertain. He has bad days where nothing works. Davis notes, "Flying poor today," as though something was bothering the student. But Davis doesn't give up. Patient, persistent. Slowly, Scherer improves. Coordination becomes natural. Judgment develops. Confidence builds. Scherer graduates primary, ships to basic training. Eventually flies P-51 Mustangs in the European theater. Survives the war, lives to age 89. Years later, at a reunion, he tells Davis, "You didn't give up on me when I was terrible." Davis smiles. "I knew you had it in you. You just needed time." Stage 2. Basic training. Army Air Forces Base, 10 weeks. BT-13 Valiant Trainer. Cadets call it the Volt-T vibrator. Heavier than the Stearman. More power, 450 horsepower. Enclosed cockpit. Retractable landing gear. 2-position propeller. Radio. This is where cadets learn to fly actual military aircraft. The training intensifies. Instrument flying in the Link Trainer. ANNI Early Flight Simulator. Enclosed box that pitches and rolls while the student flies purely by instruments. Crucial for flying through clouds and bad weather. Radio navigation. Following radio beams from station to station. The technology that will guide bombers to targets across Europe. Cross-country flights, 100-mile trips requiring precise navigation and fuel management. Night flying. Real darkness, not the relatively benign training environment of primary. Learning to trust instruments when visual reference disappears. More cadets wash out here. The stakes are higher. The aircraft are less forgiving. About 15% don't make it past basic. Stage 3. Advanced training, Army Air Forces Base, 10 weeks. AT-6 Texan for single engine, or AT-9 AT-10 for multi-engine. This is the fork in the road. Fighter pilots go single engine. Bomber pilots go multi-engine. The multi-engine track is harder. Twin engines mean twice the complexity. Asymmetric thrust. One engine fails, the aircraft wants to spin. Managing power settings, fuel systems, electrical systems. All while flying formation, navigating, and preparing for combat. Graduates earn their silver wings. Commissioned as second lieutenants. They're pilots now, but they're not combat ready. Stage 4, transition training, combat aircraft type, B-17 or B-24 school. Learning to fly the actual bomber they'll take to war. This is where pilots meet their crews for the first time. 10 men, pilot and co-pilot, both trained through the full pipeline. Navigator, 12 weeks of specialized training in dead reckoning, celestial navigation, radio navigation. Bombardier, 12 weeks on the Norden bomb site, learning to hit targets from 4 miles up. Radio operator, communications specialist. Flight engineer, the crew chief, responsible for all mechanical systems. 4 gunners, 6 weeks learning to operate 50 caliber machine guns at altitude, in sub-zero temperatures, wearing oxygen masks and heavy flight suits. The crew trains together, learning to function as a unit. Formation flying with other crews, simulated bomb runs, emergency procedures. What to do when engines fail, when you're on fire, when you're hit. 3 months later, they're ready. Total time from civilian to combat ready, 9 to 12 months. And they ship to England, or Italy, or North Africa, or the Pacific. Gene Wheeler follows this pipeline. Union City graduate, quiet kid from Tennessee. Becomes a C-47 pilot, transport aircraft, not bombers. June 6, 1944, D-Day. Wheeler's C-47 is loaded with paratroopers from the 101st Airborne. 90 aircraft in formation, heading to Normandy. Their job, drop the paratroopers behind enemy lines before the beach landings begin. German anti-aircraft fire opens up. Heavy flak over the drop zone. 2 shells hit Wheeler's aircraft. 1 engine destroyed. Radio operator killed instantly. Wheeler and his co-pilot fight the controls. The C-47 is yawing violently, trying to spin. They need altitude so the paratroopers can jump. Wheeler keeps the aircraft level. Barely. The paratroopers exit as fast as they can. Last man jumps. Wheeler tries to nurse the aircraft back toward the channel. The C-47 crashes in flames. Wheeler doesn't survive. He leaves behind a wife and infant son. From Tennessee farm boy to D-Day hero, 14 months. Donald Lopez follows a different path. Union City primary training. His instructor screams constantly. Every flight is torture. The instructor ranting about every mistake, voice getting louder as they climb higher. 2 students in Lopez's class wash out under the pressure. Lopez perseveres. Graduates, ships to China, becomes a P-40 pilot, fighter ace, multiple confirmed kills against Japanese aircraft, survives the war. The diversity of outcomes is striking. Some pilots complete full tours and come home. Some die on their first mission. Some become aces. Some spend years as prisoners of war. But they all came through the same pipeline. Embry-Riddle or similar schools. Nervous beginners. Patient instructors. Thousands of hours of training. And for every pilot who graduates, there are the ones who don't make it. Charlie Barfield's classmate at Chapman Field. Can't master landings. Washes out after 6 check rides. Reassigned to navigator school. Graduates. Flies 30 missions as a B-24 navigator. Earns the Distinguished Flying Cross. Never regrets washing out of pilot training. Found his place in a different seat. Another washout becomes a bombardier. Steady hands, excellent eye. Perfect for the job of actually dropping the bombs. Completes his tour. Returns home. Becomes a commercial airline pilot after the war despite never getting his wings in combat. The system is efficient. If you can't fly, maybe you can navigate. Can't navigate? Maybe you can bomb. Can't bomb? Maybe you can shoot. Can't shoot? Maybe you can maintain aircraft. Very few people wash out of everything. The military finds a place for almost everyone, and that efficiency is what makes the replacement system work. Winter, 1943-44. 8th Air Force bases across England. The new crews arrive weekly, fresh from training. Average age, 22. 9 to 12 months since they'd never flown. Now they're B-17 pilots, navigators, bombardiers, gunners. They meet the veteran crews. The difference is immediately visible. The veterans have 1,000-yard stares, hollow eyes, haunted expressions. They don't talk much. They drink quietly in the officers' club. They count their missions obsessively. 15 down, 10 to go. 20 down, 5 to go. The new crews are eager, excited, ready to fight. They ask questions, tell jokes, make plans for after the war. The veterans know better. Some of these new crews won't survive their first week. Lieutenant Charlie Barfield's first mission. He's a Chapman Field graduate. Flew Cubs with Nancy Graham. Learned judgment by nearly hitting that bush. Now he's in the co-pilot seat of a B-17 heading to Stuttgart, deep in Germany. 6 hours flying time, 45 minutes over target. The briefing officer said, "Expect heavy flak." Barfield doesn't really understand what that means until they're 20 miles from target. The horizon ahead turns dark. Not clouds, not smoke. A solid black mass, hundreds of flak bursts, forming a wall across the sky. "Jesus Christ," someone says on the intercom. The formation flies into it. The noise is overwhelming. Not just the engines, the sharp crack of nearby explosions, the rattle of shrapnel hitting the fuselage, dozens of impacts, hundreds, like a metal hailstorm. Barfield watches a bomber to his left, 300 yards away. Good position. A shell explodes directly underneath it. The bomber lurches upward from the concussion. Then the left wing crumples, just folds upward like paper. The bomber rolls inverted and falls. Barfield counts 7 parachutes. Maybe. Hard to see through the smoke. 10 men aboard. "Steady on the bomb run," the bombardier says. They fly straight and level. No evasive maneuvers. The bombardier needs a stable platform for the Norden bomb site. More shells. Closer. One bursts so close, Barfield feels the heat through the window. "Bombs away!" The aircraft leaps as 3 tons of high explosive drop free. "Let's go home." They make it. This time. But Barfield knows there will be another mission tomorrow, or the next day, or the next. And every mission is another roll of the dice. The statistics are brutally clear by late 1943. Mission loss rates, 3 to 6% per mission. Over a 25-mission tour, 75% casualty rate. 3 out of 4 crews will be killed, wounded, or captured. Barfield's aircraft returns with over 200 shrapnel holes. Maintenance crews patch them overnight. The bomber flies again the next day with a different crew. The psychological toll is measurable. Flight surgeons document the patterns. Anxiety, hypervigilance, inability to sleep, nightmares. Some crews develop elaborate pre-flight rituals. Lucky charms, specific sequences of actions, prayers, anything to impose order on chaos, to feel some control over the uncontrollable. Many crews count missions obsessively. 5 down, 20 to go. The number becomes everything. Each mission is one step closer to survival, or one step closer to the mission where your luck runs out. After missions, the flight surgeons dose crews with whiskey. Send them to bed? Try to get them 8 hours before the next briefing. Some crews simply break. Can't fly anymore. Won't fly anymore. They're grounded. Reassigned. Sent home if the breakdown is severe enough. They're replaced. Spring 1944. Replacement Depot, England. The pipeline is flowing continuously. Every week, new crews arrive from the States. Fresh training. 9 to 12 months learning to fly. Now they're processed through the replacement depot. Medical checks, equipment issue, brief orientation, usually just a few days. Then, assignment to bomb groups with losses. The 100th bomb group, called the Bloody 100th because of horrific losses, receives replacements almost weekly. A new crew arrives. Gets assigned to a squadron. Moves into barracks. Often they're sleeping in the bunk of a crew that didn't return the day before. Nobody talks about it. You just move your gear into the empty bunk and try not to think about what happened to the previous occupant. The replacement numbers for 1944 are staggering. 8th Air Force alone needs 50,000 replacement aircrew. 15th Air Force flying from Italy needs 15,000 more. RAF Bomber Command needs 30,000. Combined requirement, 95,000 replacement aircrew in 1 year. Where do they come from? Embry-Riddle trains over 7,000 pilots during the war. That's just one civilian contractor. All civilian contract schools combined. Over 50,000 pilots. Army Air Force military schools, 160,000 pilots and crew. Total air crew trained during the war, 210,000. The pipeline capacity exceeds losses by wide margin. America can sustain current loss rates indefinitely. But the human cost is staggering. Frank Beeson, Karlstrom Field graduate, class of 1943, eager, capable, good pilot, killed in action over Germany, 1943. His bunk is empty for exactly 1 day. New crew arrives. New pilot sleeps in Beeson's bunk, flies Beeson's missions, maybe even flies in Beeson's bomber, repaired from previous damage, back in service. This pattern repeats thousands of times. February 1944. Karlstrom and Dorr Fields maintain honor rolls. Lists of graduates who've earned decorations or been killed. Karlstrom's list by February: 7 distinguished flying crosses, 8 air medals, 4 silver stars, 3 killed in action. By war's end, the list of dead grows much longer. Captain Albert Amiro, Karlstrom graduate, March 1944. His B-17 takes flak damage over Germany. 1 engine on fire, 200 miles from target. Any reasonable pilot would abort. Drop the bombs in the channel and head home. Amiero keeps his bomber in formation, flies to target, drops bombs despite the flames, turns for home. Engine fire worsening. Near the coast, he orders his crew to bail out. 9 men jump, 9 parachutes, 9 survivors. Amiero stays with the aircraft, tries to nurse it back across the channel. The bomber crashes. Amiero doesn't survive. Distinguished Flying Cross, posthumous. Major John Clontz, former commanding officer of Karlstrom Field. He trains hundreds of pilots, watches them shipped to combat, reads the casualty reports. Late 1944, Clontz makes a decision. He's been training pilots for 3 years. Time to lead by example. He transfers to a combat unit. B-17 pilot, killed over France, first combat mission. His instructors grieve. He didn't have to go. He was more valuable as an instructor. But Clontz felt he had to. Couldn't keep sending boys to die while he stayed safe. Stateside. The honor roll grows longer every month. But here's the critical point. For every name added to the casualty list, 2 more graduates enter the pipeline. The math is brutal but simple. Lose 100 crews per month, train 200. Lose 500, train 1,000. The training capacity exceeds losses by significant margin. And that capacity, not the bombers, not the bombs, not the tactics, is what wins the air war. Summer 1944. Flak Battery, Ruhr Valley, Germany. Feldwebel Otto Richter stands beside his 88mm gun. The barrel still has 3 white rings, 3 confirmed kills. But everything else has changed. 18 months ago, at Hamburg, his crew was confident. Professional soldiers. 18 months of training together. Perfect coordination. They believed the sky belonged to them. Now, his crew consists of boys, age 16 and 17. Old men, age 50 and older. 1 woman, a Blitzmädchen auxiliary, operating the searchlight director. The professional Luftwaffe soldiers are gone, dead, wounded, transferred to the Eastern Front where Germany is bleeding to death against Soviet offensives. The replacements have minimal training, 6 months instead of 18, sometimes less. The ammunition situation is worse. 1943. His battery fired approximately 2,800 rounds per bomber destroyed. Expensive, but effective. 1944. They're firing over 16,000 rounds per kill. Accuracy declining. Volume declining. Industrial production collapsing under Allied bombing. And the bombers keep coming. Richter hears them before he sees them. The deep throb of Wright Cyclone engines. Hundreds of them. The formation appears over the horizon. His heart sinks. It's not 200 bombers, not 300. It's over 1,000. 1,000 B-17s and B-24s in a single formation, stretching across the sky from horizon to horizon. More bombers than his entire sector has ammunition to engage. His battery fires 17 shells. That's all they have available. 17 shells against 1,000 bombers. The shells explode in the formation. No hits, no damage visible. The bombers fly on, drop their loads. Industrial targets erupt in explosions and fire. Richter watches them go, turn for England. They'll be back tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. We shoot down 10, he tells his young crew. 20, sometimes 50. Next week, the same number return. We're killing them, but we're not winning. The mathematics of industrial war are merciless. German training capacity during the entire war, approximately 15,000 Luftwaffe pilots. Flak crews, professional soldiers early in the war, increasingly conscripts and auxiliaries by 1944. Training time declining. 18 months in 1941 drops to 6 months by 1944. Quality declining with each class. American training capacity, 210,000 aircrew during the war. Embry-Riddle is one of 60 civilian contract. Schools. Add 50 military training bases. Add RAF training programs in America. Another 25,000 pilots. The scale difference is overwhelming. B-17 production numbers tell the story. Boeing Seattle, 6,981 B-17s. Douglas Long Beach, 2,995 B-17s. Lockheed Vega, 2,750 B-17s. Total B-17 production, 12,731. Add B-24 Liberators, 18,482. Combined heavy bomber production, 31,213 aircraft. Peak production rate, 16 bombers per day at Boeing alone. March 1944. Germany's flak defenses destroy approximately 5,000 Allied heavy bombers during the war. Devastating total. But 5,000 out of 31,000 is 16%. 84% of production is available for continued operations. The bombers America loses in 1 month are replaced in 2 weeks. The crews killed in 1 month are replaced the same month. Germany shoots down bombers faster than anyone imagined possible. Flak proves more deadly than fighters by 1944. The defenses are formidable, well organized, professionally operated. But America builds bombers faster than Germany imagined, and trains crews faster than Germany can kill them. The crew equation is even more stark. Each heavy bomber, 10 aircrew, 5,000 bombers lost to flak, 50,000 aircrew casualties. But America trained 210,000 aircrew. Replacement pool, 160,000 available, beyond casualties. The losses are sustainable, indefinitely. Germany cannot win a war of attrition against an enemy with unlimited reinforcements. August 1944. The numbers prove it. 8th Air Force that month. 90,000 bomber sorties. Loss rate to flak, under 1%. But 90,000 sorties at 1% equals 900 bombers lost. In 1 month, all 900 replaced within 2 weeks. From factories running 3 shifts. From training schools graduating new crews every week. The next month, 90,000 more sorties. More losses, more replacements. The grind continues. Feldwebel Richter stands at his gun and watches another 1,000 bomber formation pass overhead. His battery fires its allotted ammunition. Maybe 17 shells today. Maybe 25 tomorrow. if supply improves. Perhaps they hit one bomber, force it to drop out of formation, claim a kill. 999 bombers continue to target, drop their bombs, turn for home. They'll return tomorrow. The German training pipeline can't keep up. Not with pilots, not with flak crews, not with anyone. The professional Luftwaffe soldiers of 1942, men like Richter, believed they were winning because they counted bombers falling from the sky. They didn't count the bombers being built in Seattle, Long Beach, Fort Worth, San Diego. They didn't count the pilots being trained in Florida, Texas, Arizona, California. They didn't count the mechanics, navigators, bombardiers, gunners graduating every week from dozens of schools. They counted tactical victories. Bombers destroyed, crews killed. They missed the strategic reality. America wasn't trying to avoid losses. America was trying to make losses irrelevant. And that's exactly what the training pipeline accomplished. One final comparison crystallizes the mathematics. German flak forces, formidable, deadly, effective throughout the war. American training system, industrial scale production of replacement crews. German flak kills approximately 50,000 Allied aircrew during the war. American schools train 210,000 aircrew. During the war, the ratio is approximately 4-to-1. For every aircrew member killed, America trains 4 replacements. That's not a war Germany can win. That's not a war anyone can win against that ratio. The conclusion is inescapable. German flak was never conquered. Right up to the last day of the war, Allied bomber crews feared it. Right up to the end, aircraft returned with flak damage. But unconquered doesn't mean victorious. You can be the deadliest defense in the world. You can kill thousands. You can damage tens of thousands more. But if your enemy can absorb those losses and keep coming, you lose. Germany fought an attrition war against an enemy with unlimited replacements. The outcome was never in doubt, only the timing. May 8, 1945. Victory in Europe Day. Carlstrom Field, Florida. Training continues even after Germany surrenders. The war in the Pacific still rages. Invasion of Japan is planned. The need for pilots remains. Cadets fly PT-17s across the Florida sky, practicing loops and rolls, mastering formation flying. Instructors watch from the flight line. Same instructors who've been here since 1942. 3 years of continuous operations. Thousands of cadets trained. The operations board shows the final accounting. 550,000 flight hours logged. 1 fatality. The safety record held. While training 7,000 pilots for combat. Chapman Field, near Coral Gables. Nancy Graham and Helen Webster still instruct naval cadets. Piper Cubs, landing on the grass strip. Young men learning to fly. The atomic bombs will end the Pacific War in August. These cadets won't deploy, but they don't know that yet. They train as if their lives depend on it, because until recently, their lives did depend on it. Union City Field, Tennessee. Closed in 1944, when pilot production exceeded demand. The runways are quiet, hangars empty. The field that trained hundreds now grows weeds, but the pilots who trained here are still flying. Over Germany, over Japan. In transport squadrons, fighter squadrons, bomber groups. The pipeline worked. The mathematics proved correct. America didn't outfight Germany in the air. America outtrained Germany, outproduced Germany, outsustained Germany. German flak crews were masters of their craft, professional soldiers operating the finest anti-aircraft systems in the world. They made the Allied air campaign expensive, dangerous, costly in lives and machines. But they couldn't stop it. Because for every bomber they destroyed, America built 2 more. For every crew they killed, America trained 4 more. The numbers tell the story. 5,000 Allied bombers destroyed by German flak. 210,000 Allied aircrew trained by American schools. The second number made the first number irrelevant. Fred Scharrer survives his 25 missions. Returns to the States in 1945. Reassigned to instructor duty, training new P-51 pilots for the Pacific Campaign. The war ends before his new students deploy. Scharrer lives to age 89, attends Embry-Riddle reunions, sees his old instructor, Tyne Davis. "You didn't give up on me," Scharrer tells her. "When I was terrible, when I was scared, when I couldn't land properly, you kept working with me." Davis smiles. She's in her 80s now, trained hundreds of cadets during the war. Many didn't survive, but Scharrer did. "I knew you had it in you," she says. "You just needed time and patience and someone who believed you could do it." That's the real story of how America won the air war. Not with better tactics, not with better technology, not even with better pilots, though American pilots were excellent. America won with patience, with persistence, with industrial scale training capacity that could absorb any losses and keep producing replacements. Germany's flak crews were formidable, but America's training machine was a force of nature, and in a war of attrition, nature always wins. The final accounting is this: German flak destroyed 5,000 Allied heavy bombers during World War II. Formidable, deadly, effective. American schools trained 210,000 aircrew during the same period. Persistent, relentless, unstoppable. The bombers kept flying, the crews kept coming. And that's why Germany lost the sky.